So it is now the end of March, and this month has been a little bit of a struggle, which we'll get into. This recap might end up feeling a little bit like a rant, but I hope that it isn't negative, that it's actually positive, that this is something that we can all relate to and take something out of. But before we get to that, we just got back from Puerto Rico. And before we get going, let's take a look at that. So my wife and I, we had some pent-up pandemicness. And so we both wanted to get out of the country or do a little R&R. We were feeling some stress from work, her so a little bit more than me. And she's kind of the travel person. She loves to travel. And so we decided to go to Puerto Rico. And if you've never been, Puerto Rico is amazing. It is so beautiful. It's just a fantastic place to go to. These images I did capture on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. I just stripped it down so it just looked like a DSLR camera, right? It looked like I was a big DSLR camera, but it just looked like I was walking around with a DSLR camera. So anytime I go anywhere, I typically bring way too much camera gear with me. So going to Puerto Rico, I thought to myself, this is a great opportunity to bring my little guy. The little guy is this Canon AE1 program. Now, I got into shooting 35mm film maybe 4-ish years ago. I typically shoot Kodak's Tri-Ax 400. When I wanted to start getting into shooting color, I was following people on YouTube, and a lot of people were raving about Fuji's Pro 400H. So I bought a roll. It sat in my cabinet for well over a year. Then in the middle of the pandemic, Fuji announces they're discontinuing this film stock due to supply chain issues. The film community is up in arms. So when I was going to Puerto Rico, I was like, man, I'm gonna shoot this roll of film. And so I captured these images on that film stock. It's hard to actually emphasize how up in arms some people in the film community were about the discontinuation of this film stock. Now, for me, it's kind of crazy because now this is just a one and done. I bought this renowned film stock. It's the only roll I'll ever shoot and develop, and that's it. One and done. So, I was just really looking for the right opportunity to use this. So Puerto Rico ended up being that opportunity. And if you're gonna be an artistic photographer, you're gonna have to shoot a cemetery because let's be honest, if you're gonna see a ghost, it's gonna be on celluloid, not digital. Okay, so I kind of tricked this a little bit because it's been fun to talk about Puerto Rico and Fuji Pro 400H, but what I haven't been talking about is the feature film, and this is supposed to be a recap on that process. But the truth of the matter is, it's been sort of a difficult month, and this gets me to the rant and the thing that I think a lot of us can relate to. It's been a difficult month because of two things. One is I've been experiencing writer's block. It's a struggle. Sometimes it feels like the floodgates open and just everything comes out. And other times it feels like I've got nothing, just absolutely nothing. And of course I have read Steven Pressfield's The War of Art. And if you haven't read that book, go get that book and read that book. As an artist, it's spectacular. It's like, you have to read that book. And with Steven Pressfield's philosophy of like the professional sits down every single day, the second thing I've been struggling with is time. The trip to Puerto Rico took a week away from this month, and there's only 4 weeks-ish in this month. I have a full-time job, so I'm typically working 40 hours per week. Then I'm doing things like meal prep and taking care of my body. I'm trying to exercise. When you look at the calendar and the block of time that I have available in order to make a feature film as a one-man band, it gets whittled down super fast. And by no means am I saying I shouldn't have gone or we shouldn't have gone to Puerto Rico. It's the highest priority that me and my wife have a great relationship with each other, and that takes time. So it's just a matter of time management. And I don't have a good solution to this other than you gotta just keep trying. Like, that's all I can really do is just try to keep things in balance and keep trying. So basically, I don't have anything that good to report on for this month, other than it's been a difficult month, and that's going to happen from time to time. It's been difficult because of writer's block, and it's been difficult because of the amount of time that I had to dedicate to the project. Wait, the microphone. I didn't talk about the microphone. So I have the lav hidden right in this pocket right here. And you can see I'm just using some gaff tape to hold it in place. And I'm using that rubber concealer, the one that I had used last time. Only here you can see the capsule's actually down below the top of that rubber concealer. But when I placed it this time, I left the head of the capsule sticking out, hoping that I would get a less muffled sound. But instead, throughout this video, you can hear clothing rustle, so I would leave that tucked down if I were to do it over again. Now, as far as getting the mic in there, I just took my Leatherman and made a small little hole in the back of the pocket so that it could slide right up inside there and go exactly where it needs to go. Anytime someone wears a shirt like this, there's so many places to hide it. You can stick it in the buttons, you can put it inside the collar here or in the pocket. Now, the only downside is that when I turn my head this way, my voice is no longer projecting towards the mic. So the same is true if it was in the collar. If it was in this collar and you started talking this way or you came back this way, you know, the sound would fluctuate. But generally speaking, a shirt like this is great for hiding a mic. Okay, so this has been a recap, sort of, for March. We have 3 months down, 9 to go.